Hello, my name is Michael Berger, and I have an associate's degree in mechanical engineering and a bachelor's degree in digital science. I have a certificate in AutoCAD and cybersecurity. I work as a student IT assistant at the University of Akron, a math tutor at Stark State College, SMT operator at Airborne Electronics, and as a student team leader at Kent State University in the Federated Desktop Support Department.
And my name is Gregory Hess. I have a bachelor's degree in digital sciences from Kent State University. I have a Test-Out Security Pro certification, as well as numerous certifications through LinkedIn courses. I've held numerous IT positions in end-user support across Kent State, Beechwood Systems, and Northeast Ohio, and in my local area, in local town of Northeast Ohio, as I reside. And I'm en route to a rotational in Brooklyn, Ohio, this coming summer. As of February of 2023, I reside at a business analyst position in my current company in a bank in the Ohio area. Three, two, one. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Health Awareness Podcast. We have a good packed episode for you today about our takes on the true facts and secrets of how you should go about yourself in grocery stores and everything resided within them. I'm one of your co-hosts, Gregory, here with my friend Mike here, down all the way in Florida. Mike, how you doing?
Good, Greg. How you doing?
It's been good over here. We got a little scared that we thought there was a tornado watch coming through like most of this night, but it's sun shining out now, and now it's gone. So that's just me, though. I don't know about other cities. It's just about the awareness of things with when it comes to weather like that. But we're bringing up awareness here in this very podcast. So, and then some with what we're talking about today. So, you want to lead into it today?
Sure, I'd love to. So today we're talking about the grocery store and how we all do our shopping. And we want to really attack where you should be picking up food off the shelves in your local grocery store, wherever that may be, and what you should be looking at when you pick up these foods and look at their labels. What kind of stuff do you want to read off and make sure that you're getting the most healthy product possible?
Exactly. So, to just get a basis of what we're doing, I asked, with AI popping up and everything now, I asked Google Bard, what are some foods I shouldn't buy at the grocery store? Just to give you a taste of what we're getting into here. And some results include bagged pre-made salads, pre-made in bold there, yogurt, some yogurt specifically that can have some sugars in it that are not on the label, frozen dinners, frozen pancakes, juices with added sugar and flavorings, as well as cereal and deli meat, which both have artificial colors and flavors, sugar, high fructose corn syrup, which is, if you want to see how that did with our generations, just look at your mom and dad.
And I just want to reiterate what you asked Google Bard is you asked Google Bard what you should avoid when you go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
And I was surprised that they said bottled water and bagged salads, because I frequently get those bagged salads.
Some of it's the basis of you can just make it at home, but
Mm-hmm.
I buy bottled water for my house because my dad moved into work as a cement maker or cement. He puts in the cement for places that need it now, and he has to just bring bottled water because the other stuff would get ruined in the cement environment. So I know I've heard about the whole bottled water thing with how you shouldn't. It's like some of it just gives off a bad flavor, especially when you leave in the plastic for long.
Yes, I've also heard that. I've heard that like if you leave in the plastic too long, or if you leave in the sun in the plastic seeps into the water and can actually be really bad for you. It's definitely not the best.
That's the
Um,
microplastic problem, which we will talk more
yes.
about that today. We can do a whole another episode about that this
Oh
year.
yeah, I could even do
What about the grocery store though?
there's even this thing where plants are absorbing plastics. They're like growing in fields where the plastics in the soil, and they're absorbing the plastics when they grow. So you're consuming it that way. But that's a topic for another day.
Yeah,
Um,
that's affect the pollution and whatnot.
so just to go over more of the more obvious ones, salad dressing. That's something you have to definitely keep an eye out for because they tend to add a lot of additives, preservatives, and sugars into the salad dressings. Yogurt is actually really good for you. So, but you do want to be careful. You want the yogurts that are a little bit more sour as opposed to sweet, um, because those have more health benefits than the sweet ones. Even though I love the sweet ones, frozen
It's
dinners are
about
pretty.
yeah.
I'm sorry. Did you have more? I didn't want to cut you off there.
Yeah, it's about don't get the yogurt that comes with the candy. I'll say that much. It's like, come on, you can get this one. It has Oreo crumbs in it. Like, like the best option is probably to just get the regular Goya, Faya, what's it, Faya yogurt, plain. It'll be rough, but it's healthier
Oh
compared to
yeah,
the ones that taste like a chocolate donut.
yeah. I especially love those ones with little candies on top, but they're not the healthiest for us. Um, but yeah, I would recommend doing your own research into what yogurts are the healthiest when you go to the store because yogurt is good for you. You just got to be careful. Frozen
Yep.
dinners, I think, are um, very obvious ones because they use a lot of preservatives and are high in sodium. I think that's one of the more obvious ones. Pancakes, obvious. A lot of carbs in there. Juices. So let me break down. I'm sure I broke this down before, but for any of our new listeners, juices. Um, are bad because they take out the fiber. The fiber is what slows down the digestion of the sugars, and without the fiber, juices just you just digest that sugar quickly, and it enters in your bloodstream. And this is why a lot of people are at risk for why a lot of people are pre-diabetic right now, because we either get the sugars from the juices or the foods that have a lot of sugars in them, or anything with a lot of like carbs that, for example, like bread turns right into sugar in your bloodstream really quickly, and it's probably not much better than drinking juice. Same with cereals. They're often high in high fructose corn syrup,
Oh
sugar,
yeah,
and other sugars with the artificial flavors and colors. And do you want to tell us more about the deli meats?
yeah. So I found this out recently because personally, I was never raised on deli meat. I was the kid that brought home and back the peanut butter plain sandwiches. Like we would get the brown berry bread, and I just cover it in peanut butter, and I take that to school for like years. I wouldn't bring deli sandwiches, but deli meat's already in the mix up of being hyper processed, salty, especially salami and meat like that. Personally, the healthiest deli meat I would pick if I have to is turkey. And that's pushing it because it's still salty. But I learned from Google Bard that it's common for workers to also repackage the products that they're about to expire and replace the sticker date with a more preferable one. Like, we're recording this on August 12th, and if they had something expiring tomorrow on the 13th, I can see them just going, end of the month.
Oh my gosh, that
It's
that
end of
would
the
be
month now.
terrible. I can't
Which,
even imagine.
in theory, maybe that's enough. Like, thinking that way with the amount of preservatives in it as well. Like, on paper, it lasts that long, but also lying. Lying. It's still lying.
I mean, if you really want to get the most nutritional benefits out of something, you want to eat it sooner rather than later. So
Yeah.
these um, expiration dates are more of guidelines, and you should really, especially with like foods like eggs, fish, meats. These foods will, and even your like vegetables. These foods will deteriorate fast, and not only lose their health benefits, but lose their flavor. So you want to make sure that you're buying food in small amounts and consuming it like within a couple days of purchasing it. Because first of all, it's going to sit on the shelf for a while, and second, so you don't know how long it's been on the shelf. And second of
Yeah.
all, you don't want to sit in your fridge and losing its flavor and losing its nutritional potency.
Yeah, and it's because of that when we lean on the more artificial and unnatural foods with the corn syrups and the like, we run into all these deficiencies. Just kind of going into our next piece here,
I'm
where
glad you brought that up.
it's and I'm in a house where we have a cholesterol problem, so it's less deficiency and more of a don't eat that much of this, or disease. To not get into it that much, but
So
it's
this
about iron deficiency as one of the main culprits, especially for women and preschool children.
this really piqued my interest, as I know that definitely people in my house suffer from a lot of these deficiencies, especially the iron. And I know my grandma. I know we were at the store one time. She was telling me for the second one on the list is iodine. Iodine is a very common deficiency. My grandma, we were shopping one time, and she said always get the salt with the iodine in it, um, because it's a big deficiency. I don't know if it's a genetic deficiency, but it's a common deficiency. So that's why she always recommended with the salt with iodine in it.
It's about what they call heme iron and non-heme iron. It's tied to hemoglobin, transports oxygen in your cells, excuse me. And I'm looking at healthline.com here, and not to get into it too well, but the best dietary sources of this would be, if you're struggling right now to get it, canned sardines, red meat, reasonable amounts of red meat, don't eat too much, shellfish, as well as beans, seeds, and dark leafy greens like your broccolis, your spinaches, and whatnot. Like throw it in a salad, throw it in your pasta. As well as with iodine deficiencies, you can get, oh wow, seaweed? Okay. Fish, dairy, and eggs, which contain good amounts of what is needed and asked for those to help relieve and refill, so to speak, the deficiencies, as well as those stuck inside, like me and Mike sometimes, vitamin D. This is a huge one, especially with COVID runoff happening still, with people still comfortable working from home, including myself. I was actually one of the people that got blood lab tests in April, and then I was told my vitamin D level was extremely low. So I had to start taking medication. I'm not lying about that. That happened this year. So I want to encourage you all also to just get outside. Sometimes the best vitamin D source is still the sun. And if not that, you can get also from fatty fish, fish oil, and egg yolks, which contains 7% of the needed deficiency.
If I remember correctly, I read somewhere that the sun actually helps you create vitamin D. It doesn't actually gives you the vitamin D. So
Oh no, it
yeah,
doesn't like throw down and hand it
yeah,
out to you.
it doesn't like can't do that. Yeah. So
Hey,
yeah, but like these the cod liver oil, fatty fish, and egg yolk also helps you get that vitamin D as well. And our next one is vitamin B12.
this is another big one because it helps with blood formation as well as blood and nerve function. So if you have an old elderly relative that's starting to get up there and lose some mental function, B12. Start inhibiting some B12. And it's found in a lot of animal foods as well as types of seaweed. A lot of seaweed talk today. Interesting. I'm part Asian. I don't eat seaweed. Maybe I should change that. But dietary sources of B12 though include, moving along here, shellfish. A lot of shellfish. Good shout out shellfish. Organic meat. Well, organ meat, excuse me. Organ meat. Like a 2-ounce slice of liver. eggs, and milk products. And within reason, we'll talk about dairy also next with calcium deficiencies there.
So for calcium deficiencies, you want to look at getting boned fish, dairy products, and dark green vegetables. Dark green vegetables include kale, spinach, bok choy, broccoli, and these are all rich in calcium. I wanted to mention kale chips here. A lot of people don't know how good kale chips are, and I've made them homemade before, and they are amazing. So like, don't skip your average chip buy from the store and buy some kale and look up a recipe. I think it's you can do it with like a little bit of like olive oil on the on like a cookie sheet or whatever, and like some sea salt. And I think you can put it in like the oven on low heat and just wait till they get crispy. It's so good, and it's so good for you.
And if that's not your cup of tea, middle ground would be those. And I'm prefacing this with they still have issues with them. Those veggie chips.
Yeah,
Like,
you have to be
you see
careful
those
about
veggie
those.
straws?
You got to be careful about those because those are very high in salt.
Well, yeah, you have to be careful. Those are they're better than potato chips, but because they're veggie based. But you know, it's still kind of
I know
don't
what you're
rely on
talking
them.
about. I dip them in hummus, and I love them, but
Don't
they're
rely
very
on them
high in
too well.
salt. Yeah, that's why I recommend the kale chips and making them yourself. You can put in you can decide how much salt you want to put in and how much you want to leave out, so you don't overdo it.
Alongside the those fruit chips, I fruit chips are underrated to me. Like I tried making apple chips, banana chips, getting fruit like that and turning them into chips. Just put in a dehydrator or an air fryer like I have here at my house, and make apple chips. That's also pretty healthy if you
That sounds delicious.
just some of that as well as some cinnamon. It's lovely. If anyone knows how to get a big bag of them, let me know in the comments because those are hard to find a big bag. But that is our nutrition deficiency part. And move from that to just a quick shout out mention to what Food and Wine Magazine had for best supermarkets. I'll just go through this quickly here. In Texas, we have the HEB, and we have on the east near Boston, North Carolina, we have Wegmans for its large format grocery store on the eastern seaboard. We have what is this? Kiwi, which is in Des Moines, Iowa, which is very home style prepared centered, like your mama's meatloaf or lasagna, as well as its reliability with the products. New Seasons in Portland for those in the Pacific Northwest, shout out. As well as Market Basket in New England, Boston region. Little, which is on the other side of the Atlantic coast. Everywhere from northern New Jersey all the way down to Georgia. Winco Foods, which is on the west coast. Trader Joe's, which is more familiar, is the only one I'm familiar with so far. There's some of those in Ohio. Trader Joe's is like the cool aunt of the supermarket family. It has all the more eccentric foods like your red currant berries, your kimchi, your dried peppers to make those Mexican dishes. And
They have a
Publix
lot
and
of good.
Costco.
I've been there for their Trader Joe's beer before. It's quite good. It's kind of like a Rona flavored beer. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting sidetracked.
Drink responsibly. But that was
Yes.
Food and Wine magazine, and we're gonna now look at a map of what the grocery stores usually look like and analyze it. So what we're looking at here is a picture of a typical supermarket layout. And you enter, and immediately to the left, you see the pleasantries of the florist. For people in a rush to get their partner a gift, go to that florist. Produce and bulk on the left side. It gets kind of riskier when you get to the middle, though. Can you tell me more about that, Mike?
So I really wanted to go through and talk more about each section individually, and
Yeah.
just kind of tell you where you guys should be going when you enter the store, and where to stay away from. So you do want to, yeah, you still want to start. You want to go right to that produce section and stay away from this middle section here. This middle
Or the
section is going
grocery
to
and
have,
frozen is.
yeah. So the frozen section, the boxed goods, the all this stuff with all the preservatives high in calories, and that's the stuff you want to stay away from. Most grocery stores are set up to like this, where you want to stay around the outside where the produce is. So the produce is like your fruits, your vegetables. And let's dive right into the Dirty Dozen and Clean 15 right now and talk about that really quickly.
Yeah, so this is under mindbodygreen.com. If you want to look catch this up yourself. This was a study out of Illinois Institute of Technology in Chicago. But this list is parsed every year. And we're going to get through what we uncovered here. So, Mike, can you tell me more about this?
So the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15, yeah. So they do release it every year, and they talk about the. Well, let's start with the Dirty Dozen. The Dirty Dozen are fruits or vegetables that have pesticides or some kind of spray put on them that seeps through the skin of the fruit or vegetable, and it stays with the fruit or vegetable for a long time until we eat it. So these are the things to watch out for, stay away from, or buy organic, so that like no pesticides are used on them. Maybe grow yourself, or however you want to. If you really enjoy this product, you want to make sure you consume it in a safe way. So this list here, the first one on the list is strawberries. This is for the Dirty Dozen. I just want to make sure you guys are aware.
Yeah.
Strawberries, spinach, kale, peaches, pears, nectarines, apples, grapes, bell and hot peppers, cherries, blueberries, and green beans. So these are the Dirty Dozen. You want to stay away from these, or buy them organically, or grow them yourselves, because then you can control what pesticides or what you're using to keep away bugs and insects and animals.
Of course, and then some, because there are still people out there. We're not judging here about who these people are, but there are still people, again, that even if you go to get the regular, let's say, a bell of hot pepper, there's people that pick it up, think about it, and then they put it back. How
well,
many people are going to pick it up, put it back before you get it?
You can still wash that off though. Like I think what we're really worried about is with the pesticides seep into the
Yeah.
fruit or vegetable. So yeah, so that's the Dirty Dozen. Let's look at the Clean 15 now. The Clean 15 are avocados, sweet corn, pineapple, onions, papaya, sweet peas, asparagus, honeydew melons, kiwi, cabbage, mushrooms, mangoes, sweet potatoes, watermelon, and carrots.
These are the ones that have tough outer shells of some kind, or a husk, i.e. corn, or a peel, like a carrot. So
Yeah, so
we don't eat a carrot straight up first off, like a horse.
Yeah, you can peel the outside of the carrot, or the outside. Yeah, you don't just eat an onion straight up. You peel the outside, take that off, and eat it, or cut it up. However you eat that. So most of these things, you could peel out the outer husk, get rid of any of those preservatives that were on the outside of it, and then eat the inside. And that's what makes them safe. So don't go pick up a kiwi and just take a bite out of it and expect
don't do that.
to be healthy.
Like the one that shocked me is mushrooms, because I was told since I was little to always wash the mushrooms when you get them.
Oh yeah, you should still wash them. But I think what they're saying here is that the mushrooms are not absorbing the pesticides they use on them, so you can easily wash them off and eat them, rather than be afraid that they use these pesticides that seeped into the mushrooms.
Right. Yeah. So that's I don't know of a better way to round that up. It's You can find the list again at mindbodygreen.com. It is updated every year, so probably in about another 8 months, you'll find next year's edition in 2024 and so on and so forth. So moving forward, we're going to look into.
So then we'll go to the seafood section, and when you pick out your seafood, you want to make sure it's wild caught, line caught for for the environment. You want to make sure it's line caught seafood, because part of buying, I think we all have a vote here when we buy products. It's like you're voting for that product. So part of eating healthy is making sure the people ahead of us also get to eat healthy, and by buying line caught fish or seafood, that way you're not getting all these extra plastics in the ocean from or you're making sure it's not overfished. So when they use these big nets, and they're usually made of plastic, and sometimes they get stuck on the bottom or something like that, and they just leave them there, and they start to deteriorate and leave all these plastics in the ocean. So if it's line caught, it's less likely that there's all these plastic nets floating around in the ocean. So remember, you guys have a vote for the future. With your every dollar you have is like a vote. So yeah, wild
also,
caught, line caught. I'm sorry, did you have more there, Greg?
Well, we shouted out shellfish before, so I encourage you to get shellfish.
Oh, I love
as well
shellfish.
as wild caught again. Emphasize that because I'm in a house that likes salmon and halibut. So
Salmon is so good. It has so many omega-3s, and that's something that is hard to find in nature. So when you do get that, your body's really happy about it.
Oh yeah, you don't. Omega-3 is not on the food pyramid. Well, we covered that already. But moving into meat here, general meat. It's about moderation with meat. Again, as we covered it past in the food pyramid, there was a problem where people overtook that and just said, "I'm going to max out the meat and the bread."
Meat can be healthy. You just gotta be very careful when you're picking it out. I would check the label, make sure it's pretty new. Make sure it's grass fed.
Look at the fat to lean ratio. If it's ground meat,
yes, make sure it's pretty lean. I know if I'm picking up like a steak or something, I make sure it doesn't have a ton of like fat or grizzle on it. Because you can see like the white strips in there, see how much fat's in there. So if it's like a lot of fat in there,
yeah,
especially if it's like thick strips of fat, you want to be careful of that, because that can be unhealthy.
Yeah, and the just general ratio of it as well. Like I'm in a house that eats 80 to 20 ground beef, and that's already a bit much. So the second I leave, I'm gonna immediately switch to just getting ground chicken pork, where there's not only less fat, but the treatment is better, from what I gathered, as well as the peculiar nature of how well preserved ground beef is. They can find that's even USDA certified and all that jazz. All those little fun badges that go on it, like USDA certified Angus beef, 100% Angus beef. But it can still be kind of mid, for lack of a better word.
You also want to look at hormones and preservatives.
That as well. Like if you're looking for chicken, get a Purdue chicken. Always raise no hormones or antibiotics. Like there's no infection that the chicken has with the antibiotics and like other chickens. So if I was chicken, get Purdue. If you get beef, get organic beef. And if you get what did I say? Pork? Yeah, pork. Moderation with pork as well.
Yeah.
Also look out for bloody pieces.
You gotta be very careful with pork, because that's one of the least healthy meats that you could. So definitely in moderation for that one. But we could do a whole episode on meat and what is the most healthy meats you should be looking for. And Just to kind of give you guys a taste of that, I would definitely stick with poultry, as it's one of the healthier meats.
It's not a
Especially,
red meat, so it's
yeah,
healthier already.
yep. But like, let's not linger too much. Let's jump right into the next section, which is dairy, eggs, and cheese. And this section is quite interesting. Dr. Stein Ekberg, I can't. Am I saying that right?
Ben Eckberg.
He has a whole video, and the title of it was "Is Milk Bad for You?" Um, and if you guys want to go check that out, I recommend it. It's a great video, and it talks about um, why in America we pasteurize milk and why we shouldn't be doing that, and what dairies and we can be eating and what we should be eating. So just to keep this short, um, he recommends that we stick with yogurts and sour creams, so things that have been fermented after the pasteurization, because that is better for us than just regular milks and cheeses like that have not been. Um, but yeah, it's a whole video, and I don't want to go too much into it, but I would stay away from like your regular cow milks, your cheeses, and definitely be careful. Like you can have a little bit of cheese, but it's not.
Moderation.
Yeah, very very moderate amount of cheese, I would say.
Like
'Cause-
when you get those what do you call it, the charcuterie boards, don't eat the whole board.
I would say just a few pieces, because the cheeses, unless they're fermented post pasteurization, they're gonna be very hard for your body to digest, because the enzymes that were
Uh-huh.
in the dairy have been destroyed by pasteurization. So that definitely slows down your digestion. Sometimes just stops digestion and distracts, um, especially if you eat too much of it. So yes, stick with your yogurt, stick with your sour creams. I can't for the life of me remember any other post pasteurization fermented dairy products, but I'm sure there's other out there. So do your own research.
Yeah, and make sure it's real, authentic stuff. Like those people that get craft singles, please just. And I know it's gonna be pricier. Just switch off the craft singles. It's like one of the few dairy products the government actually looked at and said, "Oh, this is bad. You guys can't call yourself cheese." So it's
What
called
was the
product.
percentage that they had that was cheese of the that product that was cheese? Was it 10%? I know they said that some other products were like
2%.
32%. Some other products were like 30% cheese, and then 70% cheese product. So they weren't even fully, like, they were like mostly not cheese. Um, so yeah, it's kind of scary out there in the dairy world.
So they had to change it to with a minimum of 51% cheese to sell it to us. Which take what you will with that. It's made with
Interesting.
2% milk in quotes, as well
And
as
And nowadays you can't even get good like milk alternatives. Like you got to be careful of like your almond milks, your oat milks, because a lot of those milks add like sugar back in to make it taste better, or they add all these other preservatives to make it last longer. So
and also there's
even
rice milk as well.
yeah, even if I would definitely, if you decide to stop drinking milk, good for you. But definitely look at the back of your cartons. Make sure it's not like full of preservative. Like if you can't read it, it's probably bad. So do your research on all the all the additives they put in there. Uh, just to keep up with it, because it's a changing industry right now, and they're coming out with a lot more products. And it's hard to keep up with with all of the products they're coming out with. So definitely do your own research on all these new milks that are coming out today.
Yeah, but rounding it off here, we have deli prepared foods at the edge here. Just avoid it. Just avoid it. I was raised without deli really for the most part, just avoid it. Especially the prepackaged deli, don't. It's very old, and like I said earlier at the beginning of the podcast, it's likely it was there since like July. Bakery, look out for bakery. We mentioned this before in the food pyramid episode. Don't have 8 servings of bread. Don't. I always saw how that kind of ruined my dad's side of the family. As well as with wine and spirits, in moderation. I like a good drink every now and then. Emphasis on now and then. Like people that cook with it, I get it. The whole 1 glass of wine a day is like healthy for your heart. Okay, I get it, but that doesn't mean you drink it once like a day every day. Especially with health regimens. The short of it is this: white wine over red. And I don't like admitting this because I don't like them. The seltzers, the hard seltzers over the beer. They have less carbs and less calories. So you don't wake up feeling bloated and dizzy when you drink some White Claws or High Noons. So that's rounding off the grocery store section here.
Well, I wanted to talk about eggs for a quick second.
Okay.
So when you're purchasing eggs, make sure that you purchase free range, pasture raised, or was it cage free pasture raised?
Cage-free pasture raised. Get the brown ones.
Yeah, pasture raised. You got to be careful when picking eggs because a lot of these eggs, the chickens are cooped up. They're not fed the proper foods to get the nutrition into your eggs. And I used to work with someone that had a farm, and they would tell me, "Oh yeah,
Oh,
farm raised eggs, especially when the chickens are just let out to go eat insects or whatever, tastes way better than the stuff. A lot of the eggs that you get in stores nowadays, just because they're raised in these giant warehouses and fed handfuls of who knows what. I've even thought of going out and getting just getting some quail or some chickens and having them in my backyard before. And then I wanted to touch right in for one more second. I want to talk about ghee. Use ghee.
GHEE.
Yes, use ghee for cooking instead of your butters or your oils, because it's low in salt and it has a higher smoking point, and that it's just healthier all around. I won't go into it too much. Do your own research on that.
As well as it has a higher concentration of butyric acid, which is supportive of digestive health and reducing inflammation, lowering the risk of diseases, and promoting an overall better health regimen. So that's something I should stick to myself here because I'm in a house where we use saved oils, which is not great.
Did you
As
say
well as
sage?
saved. We make if you fry chicken, we save the chicken oil. If you fry
Oh,
something
interesting.
in shrimp, you shave the shrimp oil, and so on. Like we do that, but my health alternatives have been so far not doing that and using the air fryer I bought last July.
For the longest time, my family would use olive oil, and then like I was watching TV. It was like the Food Channel or something. Was it the Food Channel? I can't remember, but
Are you
there
a
was
Food
this.
Network guy?
I'm not sure what it was. I don't. I kind of just flip through the channels when I watch TV, so I'm not sure what it was. But someone came on and they were talking about the oils we use for cooking, and then I went off and did my own research about it. And it turns out that a lot of these oils we use for cooking, they are very unhealthy because they change from saturated fat to trans fat when we cook them, which is, and we all know that saturated fat is the healthy one and trans fat's the bad one. So much so that you should try and eliminate all trans fat from your diet.
Exactly. And that's it's the switch of it's the whole butter versus margarine argument. It's the argument of tallow versus oil, which that goes all the way back to World War II. If you want to read about how the health agencies kind of buried tallow in the dirt in return for oil. But just kind of rounding this up, just be mindful with what you get at the grocery store. I noted some top supermarkets if you're in those areas in general. So just be again be conscientious about what you buy, but be it a meat, be it a beverage, be it a nut, or even something simple as you're going to a party and you want to bring something snack wise. Just it's about health, wellness. What this is all coincided with here. But that's all we got for the show today, though. I want to thank you all for joining us today. Feel free to give us a like, a share, and a comment, as well as look out for our Patreon. Just comment below, or we put this podcast on YouTube, SoundCloud, and Buzzsprout. If you want to look into helping us support what we do here, to give you the information that's needed. While the mainstream news covers mostly weather that isn't even in your area, the geopolitics that they don't seem to know how to get out of. So enough about that, though.
I want to thank all our listeners for joining us, and I want to remind them that health is wealth.
Health is wealth, everybody. Take care.